which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you guys for coming tonight. Sherry, would you do roll call, please?
Mayor Nicholson,
Here.
Vice Mayor Sanger,
Here.
Councilmember Durst,
Here.
Espinoza,
Here.
Martinez,
Here.
Smith, Wells.
Here.
Okay, we have a call. First item is the public hearing. Item A, preliminary plat of the Holstoway infill subdivision. Is there anybody here that wants to comment on that? In the public hearing portion? Okay, we'll move on down to item B. Transfer of ownership retail liquor license number 59 from Frank J. Hellman, doing business as Rifleman Club Bar, to Rifleman Club Bar LLC, doing business as Rifleman Club Bar.
Honorable Mayor and Council, application to transfer liquor license was filed on November 4th. Publication was in the Rollins Times on November 7th and 14th. It was posted on the website and the place of business, and the Wyoming Liquor Division found no deficiencies in the application.
Okay. So anybody wants to comment on that in public hearing?
I have a question.
Councilman Murray?
Why does it say Rifleman Club Bar and then it goes back to Rifleman Club Bar?
Well, it's Rifleman Club Bar LLC.
Oh, okay. One of them's from, okay, Mr. Hellman and then over to doing business as, okay.
Yeah.
Now move on down to citizens' participation. And this is the time for anybody in the audience to speak about anything that is not on tonight's agenda. Okay. Then we'll move on down to city council reports. The first item is Board of Adjustments. That would be myself, and we do have a meeting tomorrow night at 5:30 here in the council chambers. The next item is COG, that would be myself again. Tomorrow night we also have a meeting, I believe was scheduled for Medicine Bowl, but we're now going to be doing it by Zoom. Do we know where we're going to do that here at the City Hall somewhere, Amy?
We can share the link as well, so if someone wants to just remain home, they can do that as well.
Okay, that's for COG. We'll actually do a Zoom meeting here at City Hall.
Downstairs.
Yeah, downstairs,
What was your Board of Adjustments time?
5:30. Is that right, Danielle?
Yes.
5:30 tomorrow night. That'll be here in the council chambers also. Next item is DDA, Councilwoman Smith.
Mayor, I would like to defer to Pam Thayer for the report.
Okay. Do you want to do that now, Pam, or during,
I don't
Farmer
know, you tell me,
reports.
I have a big bag full of stuff.
well, we can do it now.
Yeah, we will do it now. Obviously, there's a big day coming up, big couple weekends, shop small. So in my bag, I have a bag. This bag is the state program that is Shop Smart, Shop Safe, Shop Wyoming, which is a group of the chambers, the Main Streets, the EDCs, and tourism all working together. So this is a bag that's out there. Oh wait, there's another bag. Shop Small again. Let's keep going. And it's got this bag. It's for you guys. So, again, for every dollar spent locally, there is a 67-cent return to the community. So we want to remind people to shop locally, always, but especially on this weekend. So there's some facts in here about shopping for the $1.67. And it's just important to show our local support. Also in your bag is some cool things that we've given out. And then I can let you know that University of Wyoming has passed a clear bag ordinance. We have some very smart people working for us this summer and realized that before we ordered this promotional product that was paid for by the state and not DDA or the City of Rollins, the Shop Smart clear bag is the correct size to get into all UW sporting events. So there you guys go. And into anything that happens down at the Bronco game. So it's a twofold. You can take it to Denver, or you can keep it in Rollins, or wherever. There's some goodies in there. The last thing I wanted to remind you about is shop again, more economic development to the community. Is shop downtown win big?
You do?
Oh, okay. And that starts on Black Friday, or Blue Flag Friday, as we're calling it this year, because we've had enough blackness in our lives. So Blue Flag Friday starts November 27th, Small Business Saturday, the 28th. You have a chance to win $200 if you go into 8 businesses in the downtown. And then for the next 3 weeks, you have another chance to win $250 each week if you shop downtown, and you can win. That's my report for the day.
Thank you, Val. Thank you. Now we'll move on down to Rollins Planning Commission, Councilman
There you
Espinoza.
go. There you go.
Okay. Next item is Urban Systems, Councilman Seaman.
And nothing new to report.
Thank you. Now move on down to the minutes, to approve minutes of November 3rd, regular meeting. Councilman Martinez.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 3rd, 2020. That goes down.
Okay. A second? We did? Okay. We have a first and a second. Any questions or objections to that motion that was made? I do remember reading something about that today.
That was for the previous minutes. We'll present that for you for the next meeting.
Okay, all right. There's no objections to that motion. Sherry, would you open online voting, please? I had to think there for a minute. You guys get anything? I haven't got nothing. Yes.
Yes.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
Oh, there we go. I just joined the meeting. All right, we'll move on now to correspondence and reports. The first item is the city manager report.
All right, thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Just a few things that we've been busy working on the past couple weeks here. One thing, I will save some of my comments until just a little bit later in the agenda for the COVID grant that we would like to put in for. So I'll save my comments for that later. And then we have been busy looking at some needed changes in some of our positions. And we will actually be moving that till the next agenda. But I'm happy to elaborate a little bit on that if you would like me to.
Sure.
Some of the positions that we're looking at is adding a full-time IT specialist to the city. And currently we just have one, an individual that comes 1 day a week, and it is not sufficient for what we need at all. Another one is with the Public Works Department. We're looking at splitting that department out so that it can be more in line with the rest of our departments. We have, the average size of our departments is about 23 personnel, and the Public Works is in the 40s of personnel. And so we'd really like that to be more consistent across the board, where it allows supervisors to have more time with their employees and to be more effective with their departments. And we have a few different things that we'll be looking at there, but where that one won't be on tonight's agenda, I'll elaborate a little bit further next time. And then another one that we're looking at is the deputy city attorney to help with the workload that Amy has and some preventative things that we'd like to implement with that position. And then the last one that we're looking at is an economic development director, grant writer. And that's another one that I'm really excited about because it has the potential to really help the city in a lot of ways. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have preliminarily about those things. but we'll talk more in depth next time too. So whatever you'd like.
Any questions for Sean? Councilman?
Did you finish yours? You had 2 left last time.
Oh,
Good
no, it didn't.
Oh, okay.
I need to. I've tried, but somebody get a hold of people.
Yes, got it, okay.
Councilman Martinez, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, was that all you had then, Sean?
Yep. Thank you.
Now we'll move on down to department reports. With the Chief Palmer coming up.
Alderman Mayor and Council, Rawls Police Department in the month of October, we were pretty busy. We did a lot of public relations, and I'm just going to list a few here. We assisted in the Rawls High School for regional volleyball, cross-country team. They had a scavenger hunt where they had to have a picture with an officer, so they came to the police department to get that done. The Victims Advocates distributed flyers for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Our school resource officer, David Greninger, he taught a vape class to our middle school. Detective Lieutenant Hooper, Gary Hooper, and Detective Harnish, they did a robbery class for Rawls National Bank. We attended a lot of football games. 2 times a year we have National Drug Take Back, where they can drop off drugs at, they can drop it off all the time at our, because we have a permanent box in our office. But twice a year, the DEA comes and picks it up from us, and that was a couple weekends ago. Officer Robertson, or Sergeant Robertson, and Lieutenant Gary Hooper were essential in the Halloween at the parks with the kids. That went really well. And we helped with trick-or-treating downtown, and Animal Patrol had adopted with the animals. And just calls for service this in the month of October, we had 584 911 calls, 1,230 regular calls. We dispatched 577 cases, and then we had 445 other that we don't calculate with our cases, but bar checks, property checks, business checks, stationary radar. Obviously, these PR items are in that, and also paper service. We had 47 ambulance calls, and I know I've talked about it a couple times, but we're getting that new records management software. So far, the dispatchers have 264 hours of training in October for this new program that's going to start December 15th, plus all of their dispatch time to do that. So they've really put in a lot of time with this new program. I think it's going to be very beneficial for the citizens of Rawls to have a more consistent and uniform way that the dispatchers will dispatch calls from now on. So, that's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Next. Hello, Jody.
I just want to let you know that I've been working with Sean on some of the things he's working on, and other than that, I don't have really anything more new to advise you of.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Council, I think the fire department's still moving forward. For your information, the Verizon Tower is still very much active at Progress. We're planning on setting that pole on Thursday. Part of that, they'll be moving over our antennas from our tower to the Verizon Tower, so we're going to gain some altitude there with those. Kind of looking forward to maybe a change in communication with what we currently have. We are still working on the repeater on our hill, which will greatly enhance what we're currently using for communications, those kind of things that will help our mobile radios and that kind of handle radios. We had a number of 77 calls that we responded to in the month of October. 52% of those were medical in nature. 52% is a little bit lower than the national average for the month. It just happened to be that way. 26% of service calls, 10% of them were false. The alarm didn't turn out to be what it was supposed to be when we got there, some of those kind of things. 2.6% of our calls were fires. That's right on the national average. 9.4% of that is everything else that we do as far as responding calls. We had 355 hours of training in October and did 26 business inspections in October. Plus everything else that I guys do all day, every day. We felt the whole COVID thing too. We've affected the businesses right now. That's all I have for you.
Thank you, Chief. Danielle?
Mayor and Council, Public Works has been working on some composting stuff at the landfill for our green waste and manure. We did have a meeting and I did want to thank Abby Perry with the Southern County Wyoming Extension Office here. They are actually being a huge support in this process, and once we get a little bit farther along, they're going to do some test soil samples, different things to help us out with that. So I'll definitely be coming back with more information. We are working on Title 16 amendments with the Planning and Zoning Board still. I know that's something that came to you guys previously. I have 3 pending variance applications. I did want to give a big shout out to our streets division who patched 621 tons of asphalt this last summer. They are caught up on street cuts, potholes, and they are doing an awesome job. The recently awarded pipeline between the reservoirs, that work is kicking off. It'll be about 3 weeks, hopefully, assuming nothing goes wrong. The aeration project is also underway at the wastewater treatment plant and moving forward. And then we going to, hopefully, we're going to beat the snow, get snow fence put up along Hirschman Street. So I'm excited for that to see how it works. And I wanted to thank Myra, Dave Throckmorton, and the Selden Ridges for working with us on that and letting us move forward. So we're going to do a temporary snow fence this year, see how it works and make sure we've got good placement, what we need to do better, and then work on a long-term solution moving forward. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Danielle. You have a question, Lydia?
Wanted to.
Danielle? I have a question for you.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry about that.
I was running, no.
I noticed that the walkway underpass this last winter was just horrible. It was pretty high in snow depth and it takes quite a bit to get all that snow out of there. But maybe there could be something worked out with the railroad and have one of those snow fences put in further to the back there so you don't get that much snow going down into that.
Yeah, I can look into it and talk to them, and see. I'm not sure, I'd have to look into it more, but that's something I can do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Is there anybody else with department reports? Doesn't look like it. All right. Now we'll move on down to the approval of tonight's agenda. Councilman Smith.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented with the exception of deleting number 9F and 9E.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any objections to that motion that was made? Jackie already got it. If there's no objections to the motion that was made, Sherry, would you open online voting, please?
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
The first item on new business is the approval of payroll. Councilwoman Wells?
I move to approve the October 25th, 2020 through November 7th, 2020 payroll register of $255,913.95.
I'll second. Councilman Sanger seconds that. Is there any objections or questions to that motion that was made? If not, Shirley, would you open online voting, please? Want to give approval on that one then, Darren?
I'm sorry.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
Now move on down to approval of accounts payable. Councilman Espinoza?
I move to approve the accounts payable register for the period of October 24th, 2020 to November 12th, 2020 in the amount of $171,291.40.
Councilman Martinez seconds it. Is there any objections to the motion that was made? Go ahead.
Okay, on the accounts payable there on page 6, it shows some heaters that were installed at the 1500 Beach Craft. I believe the street might be. Maybe Daniela can come up and kind of, well, let me look it up here real quick.
It's our storage building that's over on Beechcraft.
Yeah, and I noticed there was some purchase of $2,900 worth of heaters. Are them running constantly or?
They are not. So what we did is we put in our capital budget for facilities this year to do some upgrades to that building. We got a new garage door, some heat, some power, and some insulation in there as well. Because what we're trying to, our ultimate goal is to have one central location for all of our supplies for our facilities. So that we don't have different supplies or parts for the buildings in different locations all over, because it makes it really hard for our facilities division to keep track of everything and to do an inventory. So that'll become their space to keep all of their parts, all of the supplies, and it'll give them a work area when they're making repairs, because currently they don't have a work area, and we've used the basement at Public Works for that a little bit, but I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's very small. It's not ideal for if they're doing any type of construction or anything like that. So that was the ultimate goal, but that's what that charge is for.
Okay, I noticed it refers to the name hooker every time I look at this. It's been parking since we got it.
Yeah,
But
I tried to change the name, but the other one is stuck, I think. So I keep trying to rename it the Beechcraft Storage Building, but nobody knows what I'm talking about until I say the hooker building, so.
can we call it something like the industrial storage facility?
Yeah, I'm all
City
for
Hall?
renaming it. Like I said, it just hasn't stuck so far, so.
You know, maybe the council can probably.
It does have an address now, that is new, it did not previously have an address, so that'll maybe help too. It is 1500 North Beechcraft, so,
Maybe we get a free dinner for the first employee to get a name that sticks.
yeah. There you
Might
go.
be, you know,
Make it a
nice.
little
Right,
competition.
yeah.
It'd be nice if the employees would probably come up with a name for that thing and bring it to the council.
Okay, we can do that.
All right.
Appreciate it.
No other questions for Danielle? Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on down to item C, approval of the preliminary plat of the Postalway infill subdivision.
We didn't vote on
On the accounts payable? Oh. Sherry, would you open online voting? Tell me all confusing. Thank you for paying attention, Sherry.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
Okay, now we'll move on down to the approval of the preliminary plat for the Postal Way infill subdivision. Can I get a motion, please? Councilman Sanger?
I move to approve the preliminary plat Postal Way infill subdivision as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission and all conditions have been met.
Jacqueline seconds that. Danielle, would you like to fill us in?
Honorable Mayor and City Council, this application is coming before you after review by the Planning Commission. It is a property located at the corner of 8th and Maple Street. And what the applicant is wanting to do is actually split. Currently, there's a business on the, very corner of that, and then in the back, there's a residential house. So they're wanting to make that 2 lots. The Planning Commission did make a conditional approval on this, that the applicant get a variance on the reduced lot density. Our code does say that lots in R 7.5 will not be less than 7,500 square feet. The applicant did go to the Board of Adjustments and that variance was granted, so it is coming to you guys with their conditions being met. And the applicant is here if you guys do have any specific questions, or if you have any for me, I will try to answer them.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant or Danielle?
Where is it again?
The corner of 8th and Maple. It's the chiropractor business, and then the home behind that.
The yellow house.
Yes. Is it yellow? It's light.
There it is. It is. Okay.
So I guess my only concern was by splitting that, I mean, it's not, like there's a driveway access and we're not gonna have it where 50 years down the road, whoever gets that isn't gonna be able to put a house or a driveway or.
So
Is this all,
the driveway access easement is going to be recorded on the new plat, actually, because that, it's already listed, and I did attach that. It's very weird, though, how it doesn't give like direct or detailed description of that easement, but it will be outlined that the paved driveway, and I don't remember the exact wording, but that that easement will be retained.
With the house.
Well, I think it sits on the house lot, right? Let me try to pull the map. It's been a minute, I'm sorry.
so this is preliminary, does that mean it's gonna come back for another approval or?
It will have to come back for final. So the preliminary is at the step in which the Planning Commission can make recommendations for changes. It comes to you guys for final. So at this point, this is when you would recommend any additional changes. And then they'll come back with the final. And I'm pulling the map here too, but.
It's a chiropractor.
The chiropractor.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Kirsch's old office,
They're just split,
Right behind that.
they're just splitting the one property into the two.
So then you would have, what, one go back and then one little one that way, right?
So, I pulled the,
'Cause that's the thing, right? So this would be the new property line, is that?
so I'm not sure what, so
I'm not sure.
this is all one lot currently, so this would become one lot, this was the separation, this would be the new property line between, and that would be the second lot. So all one lot, lot 1 is here, and this is, the line between the two, and that's the second lot there.
That's the drive, yeah, that's the drive. That's the alley.
Yes, this, yep.
I mean, that barely seems like it leaves enough property to be feasible for a house.
Well,
So-
the house is there.
Yeah, the house is existing.
Well, but I mean, by the time you put a new property line on there, is there, it's kind of hard to see because I don't have any dirt distance.
So they do, to the new property line, they meet setbacks. Now, that house is right on the alley. So, but that's an existing.
Sure, you know,
So
good about that.
when we looked at what variances would be required, we looked at that new, every time I turn it, sorry, that new line and the distances there, and they do meet, and because of their existing structures. Now, if, let's say, they demo that house and 5 years down the road decide to build, they would have to meet current setbacks. Let's say that house catches fire and they rebuild, they could do in the exact same footprint as non-conforming, but it would have to be, they could not adjust that footprint at all, it'd have to be exact same spot.
I just, cause on the picture's just so small, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like there's like 5 feet between the buildings. So.
And I'm not seeing on this one where they have the easement, but I do know that we talked about it, so I actually would recommend that maybe we amend the motion just to be very clear to include that easement, because I wanna make sure we don't miss that. Because I'm pulling it up and unless I'm overlooking it.
Councilwoman Smith, you have a question?
Yeah, Danielle, that particular property, so the medical part would still be adjacent to or contiguous to other commercial zoning?
It is actually zoned residential 7.5. So it is kind of weird. The lot to the west of them is split in half. The east side of the lot and this lot is residential 7.5. The west side of that lot and the other corner where Dr. Sesko and the eye doctor are is commercial.
And then across the street from that though is that clinic, that medical clinic.
Which
The counseling centers in that area, so we're not spot zoning or anything like that.
So we're not changing the zoning at all. That use is non-conforming at this point as well. I'm not sure the history and how that zoning happened, but we're not creating any new zones with this
So it's
change.
existing as it is,
Correct.
you're
It
just
just-
dividing the lot.
Yes.
Just for updating the council, this would be a deviation from what the council has in the past done as far as planning and zoning. And by permitting this, you essentially are going to open the door for smaller lots within the city of Rollins, subdividing smaller lots, whether that be in the residential or the commercial areas. So that's something for you to consider as well as you're weighing the preliminary decision.
I think this is a little unique.
And then I would just ask the council to make those findings of why it's unique in this special circumstances so that we have conclusions of law that we can cite for the next instance.
Okay. So do we need to amend the motion? Somebody like to make the first on that? Would you like to amend that?
I think I was the second.
Who's the first on that, Sherry?
Sanger,
Okay.
Manuel's.
Okay.
Okay, so we're amending to do what here?
First of all, the easement,
Yes.
and then she wanted, findings of fact on why we would grant.
Why it's unique.
Yeah, what makes this unique and why the council's recommending this action at this time?
I think it's unique because it's always been,
It's commercial in front and it's definitely a house in the back.
and it's always been that way.
Yeah.
All we're doing is putting a dividing line between the two, and it's not changing what it always has been.
So we're amending that, the uniqueness of this particular property and why it's gonna fall out of the 7.5 must be 7,500 square feet of one continuous thing. And we're allowing it to be divided, which we have not done before.
And then in regard to,
She just wants to make sure that that verbiage exists.
and setting a precedent for.
Right, that we're dividing the 7 and our 7.5.
Fall under this. It would fall, set a precedence for other properties around town that fall under this situation. Is that-
Our 7.5 is 7,500 square feet on a lot. The primary business is commercial, the house is residential.
Right.
And we're gonna be subdividing a residential lot, which is precedent. That's what we're gonna be doing. But why we're doing that is because it's a unique property in that the front half of it, or the side that's on Maple, is a commercial building. And behind that is a house. Right. It's existing use. So, however we need to
word that.
Yeah, word that, to get the verbiage to be correct and why it's unique.
And I'll second.
So we're gonna have, I don't know how,
I guess that was
I don't
my
know how we
question
would
is-
word that.
Are you asking for that verbiage to be in the motion? Because I got the impression you would want like something separate.
Either one, we can, if the planning commission made findings and facts and conclusions of law formally, I would ask you to adopt those formal findings of fact and conclusions of law. If they did not make any findings of fact or conclusions of law, at this juncture, because it's the preliminary, it's not the final, I want it included in the minutes and part of the discussion of why this council is making this determination. And then at the final, we absolutely want those findings of fact and conclusions of law being submitted to you.
Okay.
So by voting yes tonight, without that extra information, we're not putting ourselves in a predicament where we're moving forward without what we need. We could do that, get that information, and then on the final vote, have that all in hand.
Have your motion subject to those findings and facts and conclusions of law being submitted to you in the final plat, as well as a detailed legal description of that easement.
Okay.
Okay, Sherry, did you get that part?
What I have is move to amend the original motion to point out the uniqueness of the lot by subdividing the residential lot. And then am I supposed to put in what you just said about findings of that?
So let's, with your indulgence, the council would move to approve the preliminary plat of the Hostelway infill subdivision, relying on the findings and facts and conclusions of law of the Rawlins Planning Commission. That will be submitted to them during the final plat, and providing a legal description of the, is it right-of-way easement? Is it-
It's an easement.
Utility easement or-
No, it's just an access driveway easement.
So an egress, ingress, access easement.
Clear as mud, I can tell.
I'm lost.
So essentially, your motion is twofold. It's conditional. You're approving the preliminary plat, meaning it's going back to the Planning and Zoning Commission to get it finalized. You're specifically saying, when you bring it back to us, we need your findings and facts and conclusions of law of why this property is unique and why in this circumstance you're recommending splitting an R 7.5 lot that both pieces don't meet the minimum lot requirements. You've clearly and eloquently addressed why this council is in favor of that. We just need that from the planning and zoning and have that formalized to you. Secondly, the easement has to provide a meets and bounds or a proper legal description, not only for them, but the future owners of the property, as well as all other public utilities need to know where that public right of way or easement is.
So I hate to complicate things more, but I want to make sure I know, so moving forward. My only question is, it went to the planning commission, but the variance went to Board of Adjustments for the lot density size. So it was two different processes. So is the planning commission supposed to determine the uniqueness, or is the Board of Adjustments, since that's who the variant granted the variance?
So they would take subject to that decision. They are the final approval of variances as well as preliminary and final plats. So this council has to approve that uniqueness as well. So even though it was a variance and the request was granted, they still have to take notice of that decision below, and there has to be findings, in fact, that support that decision for them. So it's another set of review, but essentially they don't have to retry the case. They can rely on those findings and facts that were presented down below.
So, right, so like the Board of Adjustments did go through their findings and facts on this, but Planning Commission doesn't have, like, they have determination that says that they can conditionally or unconditionally approve. Like, they don't have a checklist like Board of Adjustment. So that's where I'm confused. Like, they didn't go through a list of the findings and facts because they reviewed just the subdivision, not the lot density.
So they would be able to tell us why they approved the new subdivision and why they approved the reduction and why they thought the variance should be granted or why they accepted the variance being granted. Because the planning and zoning apparently is the ones that directed them to the variance process. So if it wasn't a positive or if it wasn't something that was within the master plan for the planning and zoning, they wouldn't have approved it. And that's just what they need.
So what I'm hearing is both boards need to justify their decision.
Absolutely. When you're dealing with property rights, you absolutely should have findings and facts and conclusions of law or a rational basis on the record why you're deciding either something against or something for. It goes both ways.
So we're going to amend that we have findings and facts from both boards.
And you're going to rely on them presenting them to you during the time of final.
Okay, so that's what we're amending to.
Yes.
Sherry, did we get that far? I'm just trying to narrow it down into small, a smaller chunk of words.
Okay, so move to amend the planning and zoning and the Board of Adjustments.
Provide us with findings and facts. And what's the other term?
Conclusions.
Conclusions of law. And why this property is special and where the easements are.
That'll also address the fire setback.
Easy.
Okay, provide council with findings of fact and conclusions of laws to uniqueness.
Of this property and why it's being divided in a residential zone. Because that's the base problem to begin with, is that it is residential.
Okay.
Okay?
And who made the first motion? Thank you for clarifying that. And
Thanks.
Councilman Smith, you have a question?
Yeah, tell me really quickly, why is this request coming through the process if it's being used as it always has been? Are they going to use it differently now?
No, they're just separating the business from the home. So, and the applicant can probably clarify this better, but it's my understanding that when they decide to retire, they could sell the business and continue living in their home. But the way it sits right now, the business and the home are on one joint property. And that's correct? Correct.
Completely understandable. Okay. Is there any other questions? We understand the direction we're going? All right. Sherry, would you open online voting, please?
online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
All right, thank you. Now move on down to item D, an ordinance first reading amending Rollins Municipal Code 15.12 flat work permits. Can I get a motion? Councilman Martinez?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve on first reading and waive the reading of the ordinance amending Rollins Municipal Code 15.12 flat work permits.
Councilman Espinoza, second it. Danielle?
Honorable Mayor and City Council, this permit, or not permit, I'm sorry, I was looking at the word permit. This amendment actually came from staff and then did go to the Board of Adjustments. What we have run into lately, and it's becoming more and more frequent, is that we currently don't require a permit for flat work, and we're having people that are going over utilities and not being aware of it because there's no requirement for a permit, or they're, they have, let's say, a garage and they extend and do some flat work next to it, and then next thing we know, it's enclosed and there's been no permit, and we're just trying to get a better handle on what's going on and be a little bit more proactive. So if they come in for a flat work permit and it's right next to their garage, we can hopefully say, okay, what's the use going to be, you know, are you gonna construct, this is the process, this, you know, and kind of help work through that instead of after the fact trying to catch them and figure out what we can do better. So if this does go through, I would propose to you guys just like a flat fee of $25. Our intention's not to go make tons of money out of people. We just, like I said, want to be a little more proactive and help them when they're getting things. This did go to the Board of Adjustments and was recommended for approval to you guys. I did want to share with you that we did have a comment received back on this with some current concerns. That comment was also shared with Board of Adjustments, but the concern is that, and I'm gonna use a sewer line as an example because it's probably the easiest, but let's say I have a contractor come and do a new sewer line for me, they pull a sewer line permit and most likely a street cut permit because they're gonna cut into the street. So now, on top of that, would we require a flat work permit for that one section of sidewalk that's going to be cut out to replace that sewer line? So that was a concern, that it seemed a little bit extreme for, you know, like I said, one section or maybe even two sections of sidewalk. And that wasn't the intent of the ordinance. I unfortunately wasn't able to attend the meeting, but my understanding is that the Board of Adjustments had told staff that, you know, like with anything, we would use our discretion. If they're getting a sewer line permit, we're not gonna also tack on a $25 flat work permit. We would just say that that would be covered under that sewer permit to do that work. Cause it's part of that same project, it's not something outside of that scope of work.
There'd be enough details in the description up for the original permit.
Correct, yes.
Would this apply to sewer lines, when you build a garage, where they do the flooring in the garage, they cover the sewer line coming out of the house? I did have a place that was like that, with the sewer line right underneath the garage flooring.
And so,
Be very clever.
So if it broke, or if you had a problem, you're gonna be cutting your.
yeah,
you're
now,
gonna be cutting the cement.
the sewer line is your private sewer line, so if you want to build over that, you can. You can't build over a gas line, so that would
Yeah, I know
be
that.
something.
Yeah.
You couldn't build over, you know, let's say you were doing some flat work in the city right of way and you covered irrigation, like you wouldn't be able to do that. I mean, but yes, it would be any flat work.
Because it's your property, you don't have to, they don't have to tell you that you're covering for sewer line. You just gotta say, okay, you did it.
Yeah,
Well-
if you wanna cover your own sewer line, you can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, we would recommend that you don't,
Yeah.
because it's gonna
Exactly.
create issues potentially, but it is your private sewer line, and same with your private water line. Now, you can't go over water, the city main.
So when they do this permitting, you would tell the residents that, hey, your sewer line's gonna be underneath. Is that?
No, the
when you get
whole permit, the whole purpose of this permit is just so that the city keeps track that somebody's doing some flat work on their property. So that a lot of people have extended a flat work off the side of their garage, and then next thing you know, they built another structure on it without getting any permits. This way, it
And I
needs to let the
understand.
city know that.
And I understand that, Mr. Mayor. I guess what I'm saying is if I bought a permit and I was gonna build a garage and these people are gonna lay the flooring on there, they would tell the residents that your sewer line runs through.
Yeah, so
With
we
that permit.
we don't wanna always know where the
They
sewer
can
main
still
is.
do it.
But if you're building a garage, regardless of the foundation, you're gonna pull a garage permit, which is, you're not gonna pull a separate flat work, so
Okay.
it's gonna cover your concrete. We're gonna do a site visit, we're gonna have to have a site plan showing the setbacks. But again, we don't, because a sewer main is owned, so my sewer line, not main, is owned by me. So it's my responsibility as a homeowner, if I'm gonna build a garage, to know where that is. Now, that is things that we're going to discuss with them, we're gonna look at, and you know, if we see something, sewer's a little harder, but if I see a water meter right here and they wanna build a garage here, we're going to say, hey, do you know where your water line runs? If we see the gas meter, we're for sure gonna say,
That's a
hey,
different
this
thing there.
needs to be relocated, or where, and it needs to be located Because if they call and locates, it'll be marked where that goes.
Okay,
But
I was
this
just looking at a way, and I think you answered it, a way that people know that, when they're gonna do this, when they're gonna build a garage and lay the floor in there with cement, and hey, your sewer line runs through here, it's up to you to whether you wanna do it or not. We're letting you know you've got the sewer.
Yeah, and we try our best. I mean, that's why I love people that come in and they're like, what do I do? Because I want to start with helping them right from the beginning so we can get in front of a lot of those things.
That answers it.
Any more questions? Sherry, would you open online voting, please?
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Danielle.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
Okay, now we'll move on down to item G, a resolution submission of state loan and investment board coronavirus relief grant program. Councilwoman Smith?
I move to authorize staff to submit an application for the State of Wyoming State Loan and Investment Board Coronavirus Relief Grant Program.
Councilwoman Martinez, seconds that. Sean, would you like to fill us in?
I would love to. So staff has really gotten together on this one with a short time frame, trying to get this all put together. And I would like to spend just a minute or two talking to you about what we are specifically requesting and how it's going to help the city. So the slip has identified that there's our police officers or any first responders or our firefighters. They are substantially dedicated to addressing COVID. And so their salaries from March 1st until the December 30th can be reimbursed, which is a huge deal. That, in our request, that accounts for $2.4 million. So that will be awesome if we can get that back to the city. Then the next item on here is the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, and this is when employees can't make it to work because they're helping family members or whatnot, and so we pay for their wages up to 2 weeks is what the federal mandate is, and so this is reimbursing us for expenses already incurred, which is $16,000 there, and then staff has identified 11. We would like to purchase 11 laptops so that when we have those instances where people have a case of with the corona appearing in one of our areas, and they need to work from home, this enables them to work from home. And so they specifically were looking at certain positions in their departments that are like, okay, we could get by if we had this many laptops. So that's what that's about. The remote meeting software, Microsoft Office 365, so they have part of that, you get Teams, and I'm not sure if everyone has used that or hasn't used it, but it lets you be able to have meetings with, so if we wanted to have department head meeting, for example, and we wanted to do it all remotely, we could do that. We would just have webcams, and then we could see each other, we can see what's being presented, we can do our meetings more digitally, more frequently. So that's a really important one, I think. This next one, the council remote meeting improvements. I wish Myra were here for this one. She could have explained it a little bit better, but some of the other cities in Wyoming have some additional capabilities that we don't have right now. But she's told me that with some of these improvements here, it should make it so that the experience for our residents is a little bit better. Sometimes they're not able to hear perfectly what we're all saying here, and they can't see very well sometimes, and so it's supposed to help with that and encourage people to stay home. And then we have, we'd like to digitize our forms instead of passing them around person to person throughout the city. We can do that all digitally, we just need the software to do it. So that's another request. And then the webcams I already mentioned. There's a portable dispatch center, which is actually equipment, and these are really expensive, and this is for getting 2 of them. But it would enable our dispatch to actually dispatch from home, which would be really important in case both, 2 dispatchers, they get COVID, what do we do? You know, we need to have that capability. Also, Cassell timekeeping enables us to do remote timesheets, and again, instead of doing the paper timesheets. And then we have, we'd like to get a ton of different sanitizing dispensers in a lot of different locations throughout the city so that people can wash their hands more frequently. We've identified some locations where we'd like to have the temperature scanners. That's the exact same thing. When you walk into the hospital, you look, they have this on the wall, you just look at it and it says you are 97 degrees Fahrenheit or whatever you're at. And so if someone, for example, they came in here and they're at 100 whatever degrees, we, you know, for everyone's safety, we wouldn't want that individual to come in. So that's what those are for. And then we have sanitizing supplies, disinfectant, sanitizing kits, thermometers, just the whole gamut of things that we've already expensed here. And then we wanted to get a couple of portable hand sinks, and this one was identified by EDA when we do have some events that we're still continuing to do as a city to be able to make it so people can clean their hands more frequently. And then we've identified some locations where we'd like to purchase some plexiglass, and the council chambers is one of them. We'd like to actually put them right between all of you so that it creates a safer environment for you to be here. And then a couple other locations. And then the last one I believe here is, it's a device that you can put in. So let's say, for example, after we have this meeting, you can put this device in here and it's supposed to clean the air. So if someone did have COVID and they were breathing outside of their mask, like I'm talking about my mask right now, it's supposed to clean and disinfect, kill the airborne pathogens is what it's supposed to do. So we want to put those in various locations. So all in all, I'm really excited about this. This is going to make us safer, and hopefully we'll be able to deal with those instances where COVID comes up, and we're handling it in the best possible way because of these changes. So I would definitely, and yeah, really excited about this, and hopefully it will pass when we bring it to them. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Sean. Any questions for Sean? Well done.
Great choices.
Sherry, would you open online voting, please? Yeah, I think it's very important.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
Thank you, Sherry. I'll move on down to item H, the approval of the transfer of ownership retail liquor license number 59 from Frank J. Hellman, DBA Rifleman Club Bar to Rifleman Club Bar LLC, doing business as Rifleman Club Bar. Councilwoman Wells?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the transfer of ownership of retail liquor license number 59 from Frank J. Hellman, doing business as Rifleman Club Bar to Rifleman Club Bar LLC, doing business as Rifleman Club Bar for the licensing term of November 18, 2020 to March 31st, 2021.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any objections to that motion that was made or questions?
Just have a statement.
Yes.
I think it's important to acknowledge Frank's years of ownership in our town and welcome the other Hellman to the.
Mike?
Yes, Mike to the new ownership of the bar.
Yes, very much so. Okay. Sherry, would you open online voting, please? Ms. Frank has been there an awful long time.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
Now move on down to item I, a resolution approving the snow MOU between Carbon County and the City of Rollins. Councilman Sanger?
I move to approve the resolution approving the snow MOU between the City of Rollins and Carbon County and authorizing Mayor Nicholson to sign on behalf of the governing body.
You have a second? Second. Okay. Councilman Espinoza seconds that. Daniel, would you like to fill us in?
Honorable Mayor and City Council, staff did meet with Carbon County officials, and we came to some agreements on snow removal. This is something we've been helping with in the past, but we wanted to have an MOU to set some clear guidelines. and to also establish a review process and make sure that things were working, or if they weren't, how to fix them, things like that. So what this says is we are asking the county to put snow from their area into our windrows within certain timeframes. And the reason we want them to do it earlier in the morning so that when the streets crew is out there picking up that windrow, they don't have to worry about a new one being created right behind them. Most of our streets around the Carbon Building and the courthouse are fairly narrow, so if we have that windrow, it makes it very difficult to travel. This also addresses the museum over on Walnut and 9th Street, where we had some safety concerns with the height of the pile, so we worked those out. It does give the ability for the county to purchase salt sand or ice slicer from us as well, if it's available. We definitely don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we don't have enough supply. The county has approved this though. We will have a review in May of 2021, since it'll be right after winter and kind of fresh in our minds what didn't work, and then it'll go into a every year review. And then I don't know if you all know Dave, our streets foreman, so he did come with me today. So if you guys have specific questions about removing snow, he or I will answer. So.
Any questions for Dave or Danielle? Councilman Singer?
The only one that concerns me is the one right by the museum, because they piled that up where you could not physically see the cars that are sitting on 9th Street.
Yeah, so what we actually, because you're right, it was a little stressful a couple times. They'll be adding to the windrow on Walnut or creating a windrow on 9th rather than one 20-foot pile.
Okay.
Councilman Espinosa?
Yeah, can we ask the county to put something over there at the fairgrounds? They got these bump outs that come out. And when there's a lot of snow or whatever, you can be driving down that street. Cars actually hit the bump outs that come out.
He's talking about where the parking is, right on.
Like the bulb out, kind like we have
Where it's
downtown,
wide
kind
and all of a
of.
sudden it goes like that.
Yeah.
It might be some kind of barrels or something there.
It's on Spruce. Where the they're diagonally parked, but where the parking stops, the road goes narrow.
Yeah.
And you can't see that. It's covered.
It sticks out.
You and a lot of other people.
Yeah.
You know, the last snowfall we had, I had a gentleman approach me about residents pushing snow out on the street or out to the corners. That's against our ordinance. We have an ordinance on that. We are gonna enforce that this year, pushing snow out into the streets or.
That's not really to do with any of this.
This is the
Yeah, that has to do, but we're talking about snow removal. That's.
And I would defer completely to Chief Palmer on that.
Well, no.
Yeah, so the deal down there at the fairgrounds is something that we'll have to talk to them on a different matter. This here is just
Yeah.
approving the MOU.
Yeah, and we can certainly have that conversation with them. I don't know, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is like bollards, but we know I know for sure the issues we have with the downtown, but it's something we can look at with that area. And I guess the fairgrounds brings up another point. The county did actually offer that as a snow dumping area for us too. So, and that is part of the MOU.
Any more questions in regards to the MOU? Okay. Shirley, would you open online
Thank you,
voting,
guys.
please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
Thank you, Sherry. Now move on down to item J, approve a memorandum of understanding between Carbon County, City of Rollins, and the City Downtown Development Authority, Main Street for Jeffrey Center Harbor. Councilwoman Smith.
I move to approve the MOU between Carbon County, the City of Rollins, and Rollins Downtown Authority, Main Street, authorizing Mayor Nicholson to sign on behalf of the governing body for the Jeffrey Center Harbor.
Second. Awesome. Councilman Singer seconds that.
Honorable Mayor and Council. Yeah, this is just such a great project. We have about $15,000 of fundraising money from a Passion and Pride event a few years back. And we have hired three gentlemen in this community. Richard Harris, sorry, Richard Harrison, Bruce Bader, and actually Bruce is just getting materials. Basically, our contract is with Richard Harrison and Kenny Fulkerson, and they have created a horse, a mare, and a colt for us to be placed. And these are pieces that have come out of Carbon County. The pieces, the mare is done. It's a full 15-hand horse. It'll be sitting on the corner of Third and Spruce, right back from the corner to show just what a great tribute we have in this community. And so we have worked with the county, the Jeffrey Center board, and they're just thrilled to have this piece of artwork. It was fun to raise at the Jeffrey Center, and now it's going back. But it's just really about our history, and to listen to Frank and Richard, and even Richard's son Mike, talk about like this tractor seat came from down in Bags, and it's part of the hip. And so I didn't bring pictures. I was going to bring pictures to the commissioners last week, but I just want to wait till this thing goes up and everybody can just ooh and on. But it's just very eclectic, and it really just magnifies our county. And so the mayor will be installed hopefully very soon. I'm working with Mr. Peachy on that, on the grounds. And then, of course, colts are always born in the spring. So the colt will be born in the spring, and then it'll go up then, and then we'll have the ribbon cutting between the commissioners and yourselves. But we're really excited to have this fundraising, this event, and this piece of artwork through fundraising efforts.
Thank you. Councilman Wells?
Will this be by the sign?
It'll be just back from it, yes.
Oh.
So you can actually see it if you're sitting on Spruce or if you're sitting on Third. It's just gonna be a really nice piece coming down into the community.
Okay.
And it is fun.
Yes, let's see.
Any more questions for Pam? Okay, Sherry, would you, Councilman Mosley?
Where was the saddle going?
We're still working on it. I will bring that to you next. We have a couple options, but I'm gonna bring actually some pictures for you to look at.
Thank you. Sherry, would you open online voting, please?
Online voting is closed and motion carries with 7 yeas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pam. Now move on down to the bid award, Public Works cargo van. Can you get a motion? Councilman Wells?
I move to award the bid for Public Works cargo van to Fremont Motor Sheridan Ford in the amount of $31,826, less a trade-in of $750, totaling $31,076.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Sanger seconds. Danielle?
Honorable Mayor and City Council, we did bid out a van for the recycle center. We received 4 bids, and Fremont Motors is the lowest responsive bidder. This item is under budget by just under $19,000 actually. So that's good. We weren't sure how much a van was gonna cost, sorry. But this, we're trading in the old one. It's the GMC Safari. We've been having a lot of issues with it. In fact, we've not even been running it for 3 years. It's been a little bit, but the van is gonna be a huge asset to the recycle center again. We pick up numerous businesses around town, cardboard, and right now we use a truck and then have to cover it with a net. So it creates some issues because we're constantly moving and putting the net back, and we don't want to lose things. And we also take or make numerous trips because we're limited what we can fit in there. And with this van, we're going to be able to zip around town, pick all of this up in one load, and then go back and do our stuff at the recycle center. So our efficiency is going to increase a ton. But if you guys, this was also put in the capital budget, so. But if you guys have questions for Pat or myself, just let us know.
Any questions?
Well, the only thing I was gonna ask is I know that, like, there's been a leaning to go away from Ford because there's no dealer in town, but it looks to me like you didn't get a lot of options either.
Yeah.
So is that, I mean,
Yeah.
is there a concern there at all, or is that just depend on what we really want to get? Or?
Yeah, I mean,
Because you just got all fours, right? I mean, that was the only bid.
I was just gonna say, I think we did, yeah. I was,
Okay. I was just curious if that was an issue.
Green or forest.
I mean, it definitely, I'm not gonna lie, would be more convenient to be able to have it, worked on here. For warranty work, we would have to have an employee travel to a Ford dealer, which takes away that time. But as far, I would say most of any work outside of warranty and services will be done by our central shop employees,
Sure.
which will hopefully help minimize that. But, I mean, yeah, we would ideally love somebody local that could work on it, but
But in the end, just give you a van, right?
yes, yeah, we definitely need it, so.
Any more questions? Sherry, would you open on online voting, please? I do believe we have a certified Ford mechanic working in the shop, so.
We do, yes, that is true. Yeah, we have 3 really good mechanics, honestly.
Online voting is closed and motion carries with 7 yeas.
Thank you. Now we'll move on down to a bid award of Public Works landfill dump truck with a plow. Councilman Singer.
I move to award the Public Works dump truck with plow bid to Floyd's Truck Center in the amount of $157,901 with a trade-in of $3,500 for a total of $154,401.
Okay. Councilman Espinoza.
Second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Danielle, fill us in.
Yes, so we are trading in an old truck again. In fact, it doesn't actually dump, it's just the truck now. We did receive 3 bids from 2 different bidders on this. We received a bid from Peterbilt, and then we received 2 bids from Floyd's Truck Center. One with Ameritech equipment for the plow and the dump bed, and then the other one was with Coyce equipment, which was actually the lowest bid. However, there were numerous specifications that they did not meet, as well as a couple that said uncertain. So I'm guessing that means they couldn't meet, or it was uncertain. So we are recommending the next lowest bid, which is still the same, it's still Floyd's truck, it's just with the Ameritech equipment. This item is also under budget by about $10,600. And I do just want to make one note, just because I will be coming back to you guys on the 1st to award a dump truck with plow and sander for the streets division. And if you look at all of these documents, we did bid these 2 trucks together in an effort to save on advertising and bid notifications, and then with the hopes of being able to get some better pricing, having them out together. But I had to work through some issues on that one, so it's gonna come back. So I just wanna be very clear that this bid award is just for the landfill truck at this time. And if you have questions for either of us, we will answer them.
Any questions? Sherry, would you open online voting, please?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Online voting is closed and motion carries with 7 yeas.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on down to a bid award of the city manager SUV.
Thank you. So there were 6.
Hold on. You need a motion. Sorry, Councilman Smith.
I move to award the bid for the city manager SUV to Griner Ford of Casper, Wyoming in the amount of $35,715.
Need a second? Councilman Singer, seconds that. Okay. Sean?
Thank you. So there were 6 bids for this vehicle, and I reviewed all of them, and then this one that has got the bid award here, the $35,715, was the lowest one that met the bid requirements. And then this vehicle will be helpful because I'm traveling to and from departments constantly in our different city buildings, so that's all I have on that one.
Okay. Councilman Espinoza?
I've been noticing the emblems on the side of our city vehicles, whatever they don't really stand out as for who they are. I mean, you can tell they're a city truck or whatever, or car. And, should be kind of a nicer looking type emblem that goes on these vehicles. Might be a bad time to bring that up, but, something to think about.
Okay.
We could look at that and see if we could look at maybe some design work there. And I have noticed also that on some of the vehicles, it seems like some of them are filling off a little bit too, and maybe this is a good time to, well, quite a few of them are doing that, let's spruce it up. If that's okay, I could check into that.
Definitely. Councilman Wells, did you have a question?
No.
No? Thought I seen that. Okay. If there's no more questions, then Sherry, would you open the online vote, please?
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
All right, thank you. Now we'll move on down to executive session. Councilwoman Smith?
I move that we go into executive session at 8:46 p.m. pursuant to Washington Statute 16-4, 405 to consider the appointment, employment, right to practice, or dismissal of a public officer, professional person or employee, or to hear complaints or charges brought against an employee, professional person or officer, unless the employee, professional person or officer requests a public hearing. The governing body may exclude from any public or private hearing during the examination of a witness, any or all other witnesses in the matter being investigated. Following the hearing or executive session, the governing body may deliberate on its decision in executive session. And 9, to consider or receive any information classified as confidential by law.
We have a first and a second. Any objections to that motion was made? Sherry, would you open online vote, please?
Online voting is closed and the motion carries with 7 yeas.
All right, we're in an executive session down in the basement.